Let's take a little trip across the Pacific today to Japan. When we think about long, healthy lives, Japan is one of the first places that comes to mind. It has one of the highest life expectancies in the world, with many people living well into their 80s, 90s, and even past 100. But here's the interesting part. It's not just about the number of years. Many older adults in Japan remain active, independent, and socially connected far longer than in most other countries. Now, you might be wondering, what are they doing differently? And more importantly, what can we learn from them, right here in the US, to live not just longer, but better? In this video, I'm going to share 3 key ideas from Japanese culture and research that are strongly linked to longevity. These aren't quick fixes. They're habits and philosophies rooted in science, and they can make a real difference for anyone, especially for those of us in our 60s and beyond. It takes a lot to put this video together, so share, like, and subscribe as a little way of pushing me to do better. So, let's begin with the first one, something called Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese word that translates loosely to a reason for being or a reason to get up in the morning. It's about having purpose. And Japanese researchers, particularly in Okinawa, where some of the oldest people in the world live, have found that Ikigai is a major factor in healthy aging. In fact, a large study conducted by Dr. Toshiro Shimizu and colleagues at the University of Tokyo followed over 43,000 adults for more than 7 years. They found that people who reported having a strong sense of Ikigai, meaning they felt their life had meaning, were significantly less likely to die during that period compared to those who didn't. That's powerful. Why does this matter? Because having a reason to wake up each day affects your mind, your body, and your social life. People with Ikigai are more likely to stay socially engaged, more likely to take care of their health, and less likely to experience depression. All of these factors add up over time. Now, you might be thinking, well, what if I don't have a big purpose, like starting a charity or writing a book? That's not what Ikigai is about. It doesn't need to be huge or dramatic. Your Ikigai could be tending your garden, caring for your grandchildren, volunteering at a local center, or even simply taking a daily walk to feed the birds. The point is, it gives you a sense of joy and responsibility, something that pulls you forward. So let me ask you, what's your Ikigai? What's something small or big that gives your days meaning? I'd love for you to share it in the comments. Not only does it help you reflect, but your answer might inspire someone else. Now let's move to the second idea. And this one is about food, but it's not just the eat your vegetables advice you've heard before. It's called hara hachi bu. This phrase comes from Okinawa, and it means eat until you are 80% full. It's a practice, a mindful approach to eating that prevents overeating. And it turns out it has a strong scientific basis. Dr. Makoto Suzuki, a Japanese cardiologist who spent decades studying Okinawan centenarians, found that this habit of stopping before you feel completely full is one of the biggest reasons people in Okinawa tend to avoid obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. By not overeating, they reduce the strain on their bodies and help maintain a healthy weight naturally. In the US, we often hear, clean your plate or don't waste food. That can push us past the point of fullness without even realizing it. But the Okinawan approach is different. By stopping at around 80%, you give your body time to register that it's had enough. And here's the surprising part. Research shows that calorie moderation can slow down the aging process on a cellular level. So, how can you practice hara hachi bu here at home? Try eating more slowly. Pause between bites. Pay attention to the signals your body is sending you. And when you feel satisfied, not stuffed, put the fork down. You can even serve yourself on smaller plates to naturally reduce portions. And I'll tell you, this isn't about dieting. It's about enjoying food, staying mindful, and respecting your body's limits. Now, here's a quick question for you. Do you usually stop eating when you're satisfied, or do you keep going until you're full? Be honest. Share your answer below. I'm curious how many of us already practice this without even realizing it. Now let's move on to the third Japanese idea, which may surprise you. It's called Moai. Moai refers to a social support group, essentially a circle of friends who commit to supporting each other for life. In Okinawa, many people are part of a moai, and it often begins in childhood. These groups meet regularly, share resources, celebrate together, and support each other through challenges. Why is this important? Because loneliness and social isolation are among the biggest health risks for older adults. In fact, the National Institute on Aging here in the U.S. has found that chronic loneliness can increase the risk of heart disease, dementia, and even shorten lifespan. Now compare that with what Japanese academics have documented in Okinawa. Older adults who are part of moai groups not only live longer, but also report higher levels of happiness and lower stress. They have people to call when they're sick, people to share meals with, people to laugh with. And those connections protect health just as much as good diet or exercise. So how can we apply this idea if we don't live in Okinawa? The key is to build and maintain close connections. That could mean joining a community center, starting a walking group, or simply making it a point to check in regularly with friends. You don't need a dozen people. Sometimes just 2 or 3 trusted friends can make a world of difference. And let me tell you, as a health educator, I see it over and over. People who maintain strong social ties not only live longer, they live happier. So, let me ask you, who's in your moai? Who are the friends or family members you can truly count on? And if you don't have that circle yet, what's one small step you can take this week to start building it? Now, before I wrap up this section, let's quickly recap the 3 Japanese ideas we've talked about so far. First, Ikigai, finding a sense of purpose that gives meaning to your days. Second, Hara Hachibu, eating until you're 80% full, a practice that supports long-term health. And third, Moai, building a lifelong circle of support that protects both your physical and mental well-being. Each of these ideas is backed by serious academic research in Japan, and together they paint a picture of what healthy aging can look like. Purpose, moderation, and community. Simple ideas, but powerful when practiced consistently. Now, I want you to think about this. Which of these 3 speaks to you the most right now? Purpose, eating habits, or social connection? Share your answer in the comments because your perspective might help someone else reflect on their own habits. And if you found this first part helpful, make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell if you haven't already, and let's continue this journey together. Now, let's go a little deeper. Because the beauty of these ideas isn't just in knowing about them, it's in putting them into practice in daily life. And here's the best part. You don't need to move to Okinawa or learn Japanese traditions to benefit. You can start applying them right here, right now, in your own home and community. Let's start again with Ikigai, your sense of purpose. Researchers in Japan, like Dr. Michiko Kumano, have studied Ikigai as a psychological and health concept. They found that people with a clear sense of purpose tend to have lower stress hormones, a healthier blood pressure, and better immune function. That means purpose literally strengthens your body from the inside out. Think about it. When you wake up with something meaningful to look forward to, your brain releases dopamine, the motivation chemical. That keeps you active and engaged. On the other hand, if you wake up without direction, it's easy to slip into boredom, loneliness, or even depression. So how do we find or strengthen our Ikigai? Start small. Write down the things that give you joy. Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's storytelling, maybe it's being there for your grandchildren.
Then look at what the world around you needs. Combine the two, and you've got Ikigai. For example, if you love music, maybe your Ikigai is leading sing-alongs at a local senior center. If you love gardening, maybe it's teaching younger neighbors how to grow vegetables. Purpose doesn't have to be big. It just has to be yours. And remember, your Ikigai can change over time. At 30, it may be your career. At 60, it might be mentoring or volunteering. At 80, it might simply be sharing wisdom or caring for family traditions. So let me ask, what's one activity that still excites you, no matter your age? Share it in the comments. You might be surprised how many others share your passion. Now, let's revisit Hara Hachi Bu, eating until 80% full. This is more than a phrase. It's a practice tied to science. Researchers in Japan at the National Center for Geriatrics and Gerontology have shown that calorie moderation supports better insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, and slows down age-related changes in the brain. That means sharper memory and lower risk of conditions like Alzheimer's disease. Here's a practical exercise you can try at your next meal. Halfway through eating, pause and check in with yourself. Ask, am I still hungry or am I just enjoying the flavor? If you're satisfied but not stuffed, that's your 80% mark. With practice, this becomes second nature. And remember, the Okinawan diet also plays a role. They eat plenty of vegetables, tofu, sweet potatoes, and fish, while keeping meat and sugar low. Now, I'm not suggesting you give up your favorite foods completely, but small shifts can go a long way. For example, swap out white bread for whole grains. Replace soda with green tea, or add more leafy greens to your plate. These little changes, combined with eating until you're satisfied, can protect your health over time. So let me turn this to you. What's one food habit you could adjust this week? Maybe smaller portions, more vegetables, or cutting back on processed foods. Let's make this practical. Share your idea in the comments, because sometimes the simplest change is the most powerful. Now onto Moai, the lifelong circle of friends. This might be the most important of all, because social health is directly tied to physical health. Dr. Hiroko Akiyama, a leading Japanese gerontologist, has shown in her studies that older adults with strong social networks have much lower risks of dementia and depression. It's not just about companionship, it's about brain and body protection. But here's something interesting. The strength of these connections matters more than the number. You don't need 20 friends to live a long life. Even 2 or 3 trusted relationships where you can truly share and rely on each other make a huge difference. So, what can you do to build your own Moai here in the U.S.? First, look for existing groups. Community centers, faith groups, libraries, and even walking clubs can be great places to start. Second, consider technology. Video calls, online groups, and even simple text messages can keep you connected when you can't be there in person. And third, be proactive. Don't wait for others to reach out. Make the call, invite someone for coffee, or start a small group around a shared interest. And here's a practical idea. Choose one day a week as your connection day. Every Tuesday, for example, you might call a friend or invite someone for a walk. Over time, that routine becomes part of your own Moai practice. Now, I know making new friends as an older adult can feel daunting, but let me remind you, connection is not about quantity, it's about quality. Even one strong relationship can change your health for the better. So let's pause here. Who could you reach out to this week? A friend you haven't called in a while? A neighbor you'd like to know better? Write their name down right now and make it your goal to connect. Now, let's pull this all together. Purpose, mindful eating, and social connection. 3 Japanese practices backed by decades of research that promote longevity. None of them require special equipment, fancy diets, or expensive programs. They're free, They're simple, and they're within reach for every one of us. Think about it. Purpose keeps your mind sharp and your spirit alive. Eating with moderation protects your body from disease, and social connection keeps your heart full and your brain strong. Combine all three, and you create a foundation for a longer, healthier, and more joyful life. So, what's next? I encourage you to take just one step this week. Maybe reflect on your Ikigai. Maybe practice stopping at 80% full during dinner. Or maybe call a friend and start building your Moai. Small steps, done consistently, create lifelong habits. And remember, aging is not just about adding years. It's about adding quality to those years. As Japanese researchers often say, it's not the length of life, but the depth of life that matters. Before we close, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these three practices will you try first? Purpose, mindful eating, or building connections? Leave your answer in the comments because sharing your plan can inspire someone else to take action too. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed to Senior Wellbeing. That way, you'll never miss new insights and science-backed tips for living a long, healthy, and fulfilling life. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That helps more people find it and join our community. Thank you for spending this time with me. Here's to a life filled with meaning, balance, and connection. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you have the power to age well.